Hey everybody, welcome to an impromptu Transport Evolved live stream. We're going to talk about some of the questions that people have been sending our way regarding the Volkswagen ID Buzz long wheelbase launch event, the video for which went live today. This is Michael, the Beanie Cam, as he's known. The reason he's called Beanie Cam is because I don't think he's got hair under there. I think it's just a beanie, basically.
Just an abyss.
A very creative beanie, Michael. A very creative beanie. So I've asked Michael to join us for an impromptu live stream because some of you have been asking questions about the Volkswagen ID Buzz launch event, why it wasn't out on Friday, why we didn't publish it at midnight on Friday, why we took 2 days to publish it, why we didn't get very long with the vehicle, why we didn't sit in it, why we didn't do this, why we didn't do that. And I think it's important to give you a behind the scenes, which is why I've asked Michael to do this. Before we do, though, please support the channel. You can do that by going to patreon.com/Transport Evolved. You can also follow the show on Mastodon at mastodon.transportevolved.com/@show. And we would love it if you would support us in both of those ways, because more engagement is good for us, it's good for the channel, and YouTube has basically been taking a giant dump on us of late. Our YouTube ad revenue is now less than a third of what it was this time last year, primarily because advertisers are not spending money on YouTube anymore, and the money that is being spent on advertising on YouTube is going towards YouTube Shorts, which we don't make. So if you want to see us continue, please head over to patreon.com/Transport Evolved. Yeah, why did it take you so long? Okay. And to be clear here, we're not excusing this. I want to just say, if you look at our video, we did some other things that a lot of people didn't do. So most of the videos that have gone live to this point were just studio-based video, or they were shot on a smartphone on the day. We don't do that, do we, Michael?
No.
Tell us why we don't use smartphones.
Well, in a nutshell, it looks like garbage.
Right.
To just put it bluntly.
And we know a lot of you watch our channels on TVs. A lot of you watch on TVs, and we have a commitment to try and make our content look half decent. There's also, as I said the other night to someone, actually at the Volkswagen event, there are a lot of things that there are a couple of things that I and other team members lack that most other people in the automotive sector do not. And that means we have to work twice as hard to get the same output, the same attention as some other channels. I'm not making excuses, that's just a fact. The other thing is that we film and then we go away and we edit. So I know some of you are upset about that. And if you want a channel that's just going to push whatever out immediately, I am sorry, we cannot do that. Let's talk about what was involved in the trip. So Thursday morning, I woke up at 5. You probably woke up about the same.
I think about that.
I drove to the airport and picked you up I drove to your house and picked you up about 7. Or rather, my partner drove us to the airport, picked you up. We got to the airport. Now, about 3 a.m., the day we were due to leave, you pinged me about the airline, right?
We got a notice that our flight was going to be delayed by about 50 minutes.
50 minutes. By the time we got to the airport, that was looking closer to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And when we do press launches and we are put on a plane by a car company, Volkswagen provided all the airfare. It is obviously our job to be at the airport on time. They can't control the planes any more than we can. And so when we arrived at the airport, I happened to be a Delta. I'm in the Delta frequent flyer, whatever. And I was like, hey, is there anything you can do to get us there earlier? And they said, yep, there's a flight leaving in like half an hour. we'll put you on that. It's with a different airline. They put us on a different flight with a different airline. We actually got to LA about an hour earlier than we had planned to.
Mm-hmm.
And originally what was going to happen was someone was going to meet us with a car. They were going to take us to the design studio, which is a good 45 minutes away from the hotel where the event took place.
Mm-hmm.
And the design studio was where we were going to spend some time with the car and film with it. Now, that didn't happen. For whatever reason, the person who met us put us on a bus instead of in a car.
Mm-hmm.
And the bus went to the hotel, which was in the opposite direction. And when we got to the hotel, it was fine. We put our stuff in our rooms. We went back downstairs and went, hey, we're supposed to be at the design studio. What gives? They put us in a different group because there were so many people there. So like Johnny Smith was there. The guys from TFL Car were there. Who was there? Tom Malogany was there. Loads of other people. Miriam Joie, the whole bunch, right? As well as mainstream auto journalists. And we went in batches to look at the car. And so we went over, and Michael and we arrived on a bus with other people to look at the car. And we literally had, I think there was like a 5-10 minute sit down introduction to the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to go behind the curtain and film the bus on a rotating turntable.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was a free-for-all. And a lot of the footage that you're seeing was Michael going up with a gimbal and getting the pretty shots. Because we wanted it to look good. And we got some really good shots on a gimbal. All right. And then we didn't get a whole lot of time to stand up and do our piece to camera. Now, because there were a number of different people there, there's no way that I could be filming while someone else was filming. And I think we were the penultimate ones to go, right? In our group. And maybe 2 other people after us.
As far as who got to do their stand-up
sessions? Stand up first.
Honestly, it was a little bit confusing. Everyone kind of had to film in different locations. It was we weren't the only ones that had suffered not being able to film. So we had about a 10 to 15 minute basically a talking to about what the car is or what the bus was. And then we had ultimately about 45 minutes to get accustomed to the car, but that was 45 minutes that we were sharing with other people, and that was other people doing their own stand-ups. And actually, as it was, we, along with a couple of others,
Tom Malogany and I
we
think
stayed beyond our slot to be able to get the footage.
To be able to even actually do our stand-up.
And half of our stand-ups weren't even done on the set. We had to do them separately. And another thing I think is worth pointing out is that that vehicle was on display, I think, a good day, maybe 2 days before we got to it. So there were people already there that had got a chance to see the bus and type out their stories, take all their pictures or film or whatever, and then they basically had that in the can ready to go once the embargo was lifted. And
some people who have larger followings, who I don't begrudge extra time with, because I love and adore some of them. One person I'm thinking of in particular actually got a huge amount of time with the vehicle in the studio on their own, because they are much, much bigger than we are as a channel. And I don't begrudge that person that time. But it would be impossible for everybody to get that same amount of time. So, I'm sorry that we're shit.
No, we're not.
If that's what you want to hear. But the reality is, we got as much time as we had. We missed completely because of the screw up with our flight. because we were sent to the wrong
we
place.
missed our initial slot.
We missed our initial slot, and we also missed the chance to have a roundtable discussion with the CEO of Volkswagen, which was unfilmed. That one, Volkswagen had said nobody can film those.
Yeah.
But everybody was supposed to get some time to sit down with the executives at Volkswagen to talk about the bus. We didn't.
Mhm.
Again, not Volkswagen's fault, not our fault. It was just what happened. And I think some of the people who got more time with the car were people who drove there. I know Kyle drove to the studio under his own power. He was in the area already. And so he was in the area. He had a Porsche Taycan on review. He was reviewing that, and he drove there in the Porsche Taycan. And I think he probably, as a consequence, had a little bit more
he probably, I'm speculating, but he might have had a more leeway with being he could come in and out.
He could come in and out, and that's again
not putting him on the spot. But I
it's
think
not
there's
putting him on the spot.
I think there's a
either,
lot
no.
of other people that had that same.
If you were based in LA, you had more flexibility.
Exactly.
Or if you were in LA under your own steam, you had more flexibility.
And I think another thing worth pointing out too is we did bring a whole host of camera gear. Most everyone else's stand-ups there were done with a single lav mic and a cell phone on a tripod. Now we came with Pelicans worth.
We had a Pelican. We had a Pelican and a rucksack.
And a rucksack and a Ronin case, and it all adds up. But there was that, and also I think it's fair to point out that we were still filming for this video after the buzz had gotten revealed. I think we were the only ones who did that. We're the only ones who filmed at the bus day. I don't like the local news. The local news stations were there filming the Volkswagen bus day because they were going, "Hey, there's this big collection of buses in, and it's the Volkswagen International Bus Day, and that's a separate story to the ID buzz reveal." But we were there, and we got footage from the stage. You had some roaming footage. I had some roaming footage. That's that little setup there was much easier, I think, for us, because it allowed us to produce what is becoming our trademark montages, which is all down to Michael. So the montage that you see at the beginning with all those buses, with the music and everything else, that is one of the things that we try and do when we do a fun video like this. And I think the other thing to bear in mind is, even though you may think that we are one of the larger channels in terms of staff, we are one of the smaller channels out there. Most other people who were there had someone to edit for them. Like they film and then they upload it to very often people turn up and it's just them and a camera or them and a phone, and they'll review something. They'll stand in front of the camera. They'll do their piece to camera with those really obnoxious Rode mics that look like I'm sorry. I love everybody who uses them. I know some of my friends in the industry, who I do consider friends, use these big Rode mics, but they look terrible on camera. We use lav mics for a reason. We use lav mics and good quality audio recording for a reason. It takes time to make that sound and look good. From the comments to that video, I know I know that many of you watching were like, yeah, yours had the best edit, yours had the best image quality and the best audio, and you have to pick. Do you want us to be first, or do you want us to sound and look good on camera? And someone was like, yeah, you could just do it on a phone. Yes, we could. But in the past, when we've tried to cut corners and film stuff on a phone or on a GoPro, y'all have complained at us. So you can't have it both ways. You can't be saying, hey, we want you to push it now, push it now, push it now, versus, we want it to look good. Couple of quick kind of things about that. When we filmed the Nissan Ariya first drive, I flew out on the Friday. I was working
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, flew back on the Sunday. I was up until 2 a.m. editing the audio from the drive, so it was good. I then had about 4 or 5 hours on the Sunday morning at the hotel before I had to get my flight back home. And I was working on the plane as well. And I literally put everything on this drive, or we have a couple of these, the 2 terabyte SSD. And I literally drove it to Michael's house that night and was like, here you go. And the next morning, I'd already done the edit. He just colored it. And that's how it was able to be done quickly, right? Because he was with me, he was filming, and then we started editing. And I want to just, and I know somebody's going to scream at us and complain about this and say, you're just making excuses. But look at this. I just want to show you 2 things. So what we haven't really talked about is Friday morning. So the studio time was on Thursday, right? Thursday after we got back, there was a meal. Mm-hmm. And I think we were outside for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. Just being polite and sociable to other people. We saw Liv and Patrick, mm-hmm. who I absolutely adore. You guys rock. We saw Ricky Roy. We saw a couple of other people. We got to see Johnny Smith, and have a good natter with him because I haven't seen him for yonks. And then we went to bed early. I offloaded the audio that night, and I worked on the audio from our studio session. We offloaded all of the footage from our studio session. Friday morning, I woke up at like 5. I think you probably woke up about 5.
Yeah, it was about that.
Michael was in my room by 7 o'clock.
Yeah, about 7.
Setting up for the stand-up for 10. We filmed that in my hotel balcony. Mm-hmm. Before breakfast. 1 shot. No script. Just do it. Mm-hmm. After that, we had to pack up our room, go downstairs, and be out on the beach for 8:30. Mm-hmm. 8:30 on the beach. Yeah. You had a gimbal set up. You used a different gimbal setup to the previous day. I had a tripod set up. We then filmed literally for 2 hours? 3?
No, I think it was closer to 3. We filmed for quite some time.
Once we were finished filming, we then got everything packed up. And thank you, Brian. You're an absolute star. Thank you very much. We finished filming, I think, by 11:30. I started walking back about 11. You were slightly behind me. Yeah. We got back to where our bag keep was. They had a bag keep set up, so we didn't have to take all our equipment onto the beach. We packed everything up while Michael was packing all the camera gear away, ready for travel. Mm-hmm. I was offloading all of the footage from earlier. Mm-hmm. And then we went to the airport. We left at 7. I think we left at noon.
Yeah.
We left at noon.
It was around noon, yeah. It took us a good 45 minutes to get back to the airport because it was heavy traffic in LA.
And by the way, we're not doing this as an excuse. I'm just like, hey, this is the reason. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to make ourselves look better than we are or bigger than we are. We're just going, hey, this was our process. Maybe we got it wrong. But we got to the airport. This was, sorry, it's not full here, but this was us at the airport. Michael was working. You can see this on the right here is me. That's my computer. I'm working on the audio, and Michael is already working on the ID Buzz footage on the left. And then literally, we arrived at the airport. We went through TSA pre. Flying back, I used some of my air miles to upgrade us to first class. I had some spare air miles, so it didn't cost me anything.
It ended up saving the experience quite a bit.
And we went into the airport lounge again, which I have a free membership to an airport lounge because I fly so much. I got Michael into the airport lounge, and again, this is us in the airport lounge working on the audio, and then immediately once we got out of there and onto the plane, this is Michael on the flight. By the time we landed on Friday, you didn't realize I took that photo, did you?
Oh, I actually like the photo. No, I was laughing because I was still editing that as the plane was descending, and they're like, It's time to put
Come
stuff
on, wrap it up.
Time to put stuff away. I'm like, I'm almost there. I'm almost there.
So Michael then gave me, again, another one of these drives. We came back to the house. Well, I dropped you off at home.
Yeah.
I got home at 8. We went and got some. Thank you, Dave. You're awesome. I appreciate it. We got back to the. I got back here about 8. I had lunch with my partner we picked up a takeout and had that when we got home. I went straight into the studio at 9:30. At 9:30, I then started working on 10, which was not completely edited on the plane because there were some assets that I hadn't brought with me that I had to just add in. I was finished editing 10 by 1 a.m. I was editing 10 on this machine, and on that computer, I was rendering out Michael's edit of the ID Buzz. Now, so technically, it was all finished by Friday evening. So why did we wait until today to publish it? 2 reasons. First, YouTube punishes us if we skip our schedule or we change our schedule. Live streams are different. Live streams are okay. But from planned schedule, if you do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, they expect you to make content Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. It's also cannibalistic for us to post the review at the same day that we publish 10. And again, people complain if 10 isn't there. So 10 has to go out on a Saturday morning unless there's a really, really, really good reason for it not to be. So we pushed it out on Friday for 10 for Patreon supporters. And then Saturday morning for everybody else. The Sunday musing and the chicken and garden went up as normal, which we had to film before we left.
Yeah.
And then on, when was it? Friday. And then yesterday, Patreon supporters got to see this yesterday morning. The Volkswagen ID Buzz video got live to Patreon supporters yesterday morning and then live to everybody else today. We could have done it differently. Maybe we did it wrong. And I'm sorry if you feel like that. But at the end of the day, we have to try and keep all of these balls in the air and juggle. This week, we already have Friday's video in the can. Friday's video, Friday, I guess we should call it Friday, even though for us it's Thursday, but for you guys it's Friday's video. Wednesday's video was going to be Friday's video, or Friday's video was going to be Wednesday's video. But there is a video that we've been trying to work on for a while, which we wanted to slot in. And what was originally planned for Friday has been punted because Michael can't physically fit all the editing in. Because you've got to film a different car this week. We've got another car arriving tomorrow. And Michael can't be in 2 places at once. It takes him about 2 days to film the interior and the exterior of every review car we have. And we work 4 days a week. Well, everybody else works 4 days a week. Everybody else does 4 12-hour shifts. 4 10-hour shifts. So everybody else does a 40-hour work week, but they do 10 hours a day. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Sometimes they do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday this week. I think Erin's going to do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't know. I lose track. It's all in the company calendar. I will be here on Friday. I'm going to be doing a Patreon hangout. So if you are a Patreon supporter, keep your eyes open. There's going to be an invite going out soon for a Patreon hangout on Wednesday. So there is flexibility in our schedule, and we are a small company. There are 2 full-time members of staff in addition to myself. Michael is full-time and Erin is full-time. Erin does nothing on the video editing side. The only video thing that Erin does is animations, thumbnails, credits. Erin does the art, the thumbnails, the fancy animations for long form videos, and the credits, and t-shirt designs and marketing and stuff like that. Michael does 90% of the filming and probably about 75% of the editing these days, right? I do rough cuts. I can do rough cuts faster than anybody else, but then Michael is the one who makes it look good. And I hand it over to Michael because Michael catches all the little stupid mistakes that I make in the edits that you all used to complain about. So that is how it works. And I know someone will be like, yeah, but why didn't you work over the weekend? You should have worked over the weekend. Good luck.
We do. We basically do.
I mean, yeah, I work until the wee small hours, which is one of the changes we're implementing right now. Okay, we're changing it. But some of the people who were there filmed the thing, then went to their hotel room, used the hotel Wi-Fi to upload the video to somebody waiting back in a studio somewhere. And we didn't do it that way. We did it slightly differently. Just only noticed the live stream. Any more clues as to why Volkswagen gave you like 1/5 of the normal time to look at the buzz? Everybody had a short period of time. We covered this earlier. Yeah. It's earlier in the live stream. I will just reiterate it. And that is that there were flight issues with our plane. We landed earlier than we were meant to, but it was on a different flight, which meant that the people picking us up didn't know that we were supposed to go to a different place. And we didn't know where we were going until Michael leaned over to me on the bus and goes, I don't think we're going to the studio. We're going to the hotel. So that is the way it works. The other thing that I want to tell you is that most automotive channels in the YouTube space, like Brian says, they like to make the impression that they're small, but they're not. They will have multiple people. There are 3 people working full-time at this channel, if you include myself. Kate Walden-Elliott works 2 days a week, and she does an amazing amount of work in 2 days and doesn't get paid anywhere near enough money for it. The rest of the team don't get paid anywhere near enough. And so you see the team. And the reason you see these guys is because I might be a talking head on the channel. Kate Walden-Elliott might be a talking head on the channel. But if it wasn't for this guy, if it wasn't for Erin, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And I think I owe it to you guys to show how the sausage is made, to use a metaphor. When we do car reviews, Erin comes out to the studio. Erin normally works remotely, but Erin comes out to the studio, and Erin is the chase car driver. Erin is one of the best in fact, the best chase car driver I have ever worked with. Erin doesn't use any assistance technology, doesn't trust it, doesn't trust autopilot, doesn't trust Blue Cruise, drives manually, gas and throttle or accelerator and throttle in the case of an EV, and absolutely nails constant speed, is a very, very safe driver, and is why we are able to get such amazing shots, why Michael is able to get such amazing shots. I think it's important that you know who is responsible for all of those things, because it's not just me standing in front of the camera going, or Kate. So that is the why it is. That is the why and the where. If there are 5 variants of the same topic out once, I won't watch them all. I'm more likely to watch another a few days later. Thank you very much. There you go. I prefer the less formal style. So it seems a win-win. Again, we've tried it before and it's been really unpopular. And we kind of have our hands tied with 10 because 10 is produced for us. It's also a moneymaker for us because we make it for another YouTube channel who reskins it for their audience. And so it's easier to do it as a formal green screen because then I can edit it more easily. So there you go. That is why we do. Are the folks who normally attack you personally now trying to push your buttons by trolling about the channel? Probably. But also, I want you to know that not everybody who asked was trolling. I think there were some people who were genuinely concerned. And I just wanted to say, hey, this is a good opportunity to give you a behind the scenes, right? To let you know how this is made. I'm not going to ask my team to work longer than they already do. They already work longer than they should. And I think it's important to understand, that the equipment that we make is the videos that we make take a lot of time and effort, and maybe that's bad reflection on me as a boss. Maybe I should fire everybody and just do it myself like I used to. But I think the video quality is not going to be anywhere near as good. I don't know how to color anything. You've seen my coloring. What would you describe it as?
I think the last thing that you mostly colored was the F-150, and it seemed rather gloomy.
Yeah.
But then my coloring is very punchy depending on what monitor you watch it on. So I use the parade a lot, but I think it's false. So,
but at the end of the day, we do our best, and I hope that you enjoy the output. And we stopped trying to be first a long time ago. It's basically the long and the short of it. I do want to throw in one very quick thing though, which was when we did the Mustang Mach-E first look, which is 2-3 years ago now. I flew to Germany. I went to see the Mustang Mach-E in a design studio, and then we went to the launch event in LA. Unlike the Volkswagen event, where we got to the studio one day and then we saw the reveal event the next, that particular event, we got to see the Mustang Mach-E in Germany a full 2 weeks, I want to say, maybe 3 before the reveal event. So I got to see it, I got to film it, I got to spend extra time with it because it was spread out. Ford did it differently. Instead of trying to get everybody there for the event, Ford got everybody there in waves, and then it invited everybody out to LA for the actual launch. And that was a very different experience because Ford had invested a little bit more time-wise, getting people to see the car. I had more time with it. I then had more time to edit it offline before the reveal event. That is very different. Do you mind answering some questions? Because we've got some behind the scenes questions now. How much time is spent on equipment prep for trips and shoots, batteries, cable testings, drives, SD cards, etc.? Are you okay? Are you okay?
I'm wondering how honestly I want to answer that question.
I promise them I won't tell them about that time when we went out to film something and you said naughty words and we had to come back to the house.
Very naughty words. I left like half of the studio. So what was the question specifically? Where did it go?
How much time is spent on equipment care, equipment prep for trips and shoots?
Generally speaking, it's 1 full day to prepare all of our gear for a trip. For the Volkswagen trip, it took me about a day. There are other complexities that can get in the way. For example, like the Volkswagen trip where we had filmed a car review utilizing half of the gear that we were going to take to California with us. Mm-hmm. So in addition to using the gear for the car review, disassembling it, cleaning everything up, categorizing everything, making sure the inventory is all there, making sure everything's not broken, and then recompiling it back again to take to a trip, in addition to all of the other things that we do in the studio.
And that's not
it takes a long time.
And that's not even taking into consideration the amount of time, the meetings that we had. So I think we probably had 2 meetings ahead of the Volkswagen trip where I basically went, hey, what do we want to take?
Yeah, exactly.
And Michael said, what do you want it to look like? So I effectively produced the videos, but he is ultimately responsible for the...
And that's the other thing too, is that a lot of the gear changes right up to the day before traveling. So the Volkswagen was a good idea because we were constantly getting different information about what was going to happen at the event, and what happens at the event. What gear we bring is related to that. So what I may pack on a Monday might end up being left home on Tuesday and whatnot. So
and apologies for 2 very upset border collies outside, and they want to come in and play, and I said no, we're doing a live stream. When we are invited to an event, car companies are kind of reticent to give you much in the way of details because they want to make sure that what they're telling you is accurate, and they'd rather not tell you something than tell you something and then have it be wrong, which I totally understand. But every reveal is different. Mm-hmm. every reveal is different.
And this is something that we fight about a lot because for those that know, I used to be a machinist. So my work process is you hand me a blueprint and you tell me exactly what the end product is supposed to be. And then it's just my job to make that end product. Here, we don't have a blueprint. We're basically, the best way I can think of it is we're like chefs that have to go and fill in at other kitchens, but we don't know what food the restaurant makes. We don't know what the kitchen's going to look like. We don't know what the clientele is going to be like. So we just show up and we're just like, all right, best of luck.
I mean, look, when we did this event, we knew that there was going to be a studio space, right? So I said to Michael, okay, we don't have to worry about lights. They're going to have good lights. It's going to be a bright room, probably with a cyc wall. There might be a turntable. We got that bit right.
Yeah.
For audio, we were like, are we going to take the wireless radio mics, which we'd normally take if there was going to be an interview. So if there's an interview, we have a completely different setup than if it's just me on my own or Kate on her own. For interviews, for 2 people on camera, we use our wireless radio packs because they are easier to work with in post. They're both the same type of microphone. They're both the same type of recorder. And when we hit record, it allows the person filming or sometimes an additional sound person to monitor the audio on a set of headphones while everything's going on. If there's an issue, they can just go, hey, the audio dropped out or whatever. And we don't have to worry about not finding a good take. But when it's just me, and there's no opportunity for interviews, and we actually did confirm this with Volkswagen before we left. Is there an opportunity for interviews? And they said no. We and we said on-camera interviews, and they were like, no, there's no opportunity for on-camera interviews. So we actually went and decided, hey, we're going to take. Do we have any F2s on here? Oh, the F2s are on your desk. Yeah. Right. So we actually took these little F2 recorders. I just love these. These are so sweet. The problem with these is they sometimes don't work. They sometimes do not record, and there's no easy way for you to know that they're not recording on location. So this is the microphone we used. This is actually a Deity microphone because we decided that the Deity microphones sound a lot better than these. These are the ones that came with it. We ended up using these on for the Volkswagen trip. So things like that. Hey, do you take those? Are they all the batteries? The batteries, are they fully charged? How many do we need to take? What goes well? Then there's a whole, is the case going to be too heavy?
Yeah, that's another thing we had to fight with, is making sure that we weren't going to get any overage fees because they can add up very quickly. So a lot of our gear, in addition to us trying to figure out which gear we want, we also have to pack it in a way that is economical for us.
Yeah.
And one thing that really does slow us down in the field, and it's one of my pet peeves and I'm still working on it, is that sometimes our gear has to be modular enough to where at the last minute we can change stuff around. For the VW Buzz event, because you and I were walking around the reveal with our own gear, I actually had to leave my clothes in your suitcase so that way I could take the batteries in my backpack that you had packed into your carry-on, so that way we had power during the event. And so there's all of these other little variables that can really slow us down as we try to figure out which tool to use at what point. And
even things like making sure all the batteries fit into carry-on, which things are going in the hold, which things are not going in the hold. Coming back, we had to move things around because Volkswagen gave us posters of the car. And Michael was like, I'd really like one of those. So in order for us to be able to carry that on the plane, we had to move things around. And because I'd upgraded us using the points I had saved, we got an extra checked bag, 2 extra check bags, so that worked out. We also have to make sure that when the gear arrives, that it works. Do we talk about the TSA, or does that cause us problems in the future? Let's talk about the TSA. We use these. These are little TSA locks.
We get to use them one time. That's all we get, just one time.
Yeah, and they like cost a couple of, well, I don't know, what, $8 each or something, $10, something like that.
Yeah, we get to use them one time and then they disappear.
The little TSA locks, right? So you put those through the expensive equipment that you're bringing to an event, and they have a little and this, in fact, this one's been broken by TSA. We got it back, but it's broken. They forced it. It has a little lock in it, right? TSA approved lock. Well, I think we've lost every one of those locks that we've taken this year. And I remember we've bought 10, and they've all gone except one, I think.
I think we have 2 more.
I
think we have 2.
In addition to this broken one, which has been broken.
Yeah, so that was good.
They've stopped unlocking they used to unlock them. They've stopped unlocking them, and they just cut them off, and then they don't put them back on, or they're using the keys to take them off and then selling them. I don't know which. But you actually tweeted a photo or tooted a photo on your Mastodon account of our flight case upside down going into the hold of the plane with no TSA locks on.
Yeah.
Our gimbal was taken apart by TSA, and they put it back
badly.
And they put it back into the case badly.
I actually had to dedicate some time this morning to putting it all together,
about an hour, making sure everything was
thereabouts. But yeah, I had to take it all apart.
And this happens when we arrive at an event as well. So the first thing we do is we check our suitcases. Often before we leave the airport, we check all of the equipment to make sure it's there. Because I've flown once before through Hong Kong, and something wasn't where it was supposed to be, and it turned up later. So we have to make sure that everything is there. Obviously, we have insurance for everything, but we have to put that through as well. So I would say for that trip, we probably spent a whole day before preparing. And then Michael's had to do some unpacking this morning and re-squaring it, because the gimbal that he used on Thursday and Friday is the very same gimbal that he's going to be using on Monday.
Reviews, yeah.
Where it needs to be on the back of the truck.
So it's very important to make sure all the stuff still works, because we do use them for multiple purposes. And so if one piece is broken, it needs to be addressed as soon as possible.
I use those circular steel loops used for key rings. Huh. Oh, we might have to have a look at that. And we thought about using cable ties. Again, the problem with that is TSA has stopped. I've spoken to someone recently who uses cable ties, and they used to put a little label in, "Please use another cable tie," and they just don't. And it's not that they take it. They basically unlock the case and then leave it unlocked, which, okay, staff at the airport are security checked and everything, and it should be good. But when it comes through the other end on the conveyor belt, you might not be there when it arrives. And with camera gear especially, very often camera gear is classified as oversized. So I've been in a situation before where my oversized luggage, it was a Pelican case and a tripod, ended up in another part of the airport.
Like in the oversized luggage,
in a different baggage claim, like a good 15-minute walk.
The other reason why zip ties is not really usable is there's no guarantee that we have a sharp object to cut this cable zip ties when we get to our destination.
Yeah, and we're not allowed to carry them.
We can't
on the plane.
The only thing I think we could bring are like nail clippers, but that's.
So it's kind of, you're a bit of a hiding to nothing on this one. We've done that before. I know of someone who's done that before. Put spare cable ties in the box, but they just don't. We also have that. That is true. True tech. We do put Apple AirTags and similar in our gear, because that allows us to know where we're at, and it also makes us. It means I know where all the gear is, and all the gear has tags in it, and we use rechargeable batteries, so that's good. We've had one Apple AirTag go missing. That gives you an idea of how crazy it can sometimes be at the airport through security. And I think that's probably everything that I said to Michael. It was only going to be 10 minutes, and it's now 50 minutes. I'm sorry, Michael. But Michael doesn't have to produce the review for the Aria. That's not going to drop this week. We thought it was going out on Friday, but it's not. It's probably going to be next week now. And we've got 2 car reviews back to back, and then we've got another thing back to back after that. But we do have some other cool videos coming. And yes, I don't honestly know why there were so many people all jumbled up together. I think there were flight issues that day.
A lot of people had flight issues. That was something that kept coming up in conversations. Was there were a lot of late flights, and it also stands to reason we were one of the very last slots for that unveiling event.
In fact, we were the penultimate slot, and we stayed until the last slot so that we could get the upstairs gantry stuff.
Yeah, and so there were a lot of other journalists there that were all trying very hard to film their bits, and they were all stressed out. They were all really rushing through it. And I think that was another thing. I think the people that got there earlier just had more time to do that sort of thing.
And also, I would say it was probably about a 96 34 split between traditional print journalists and video journalists. So the majority of people there were just taking photos and were writing, which is much easier to do.
It's easier to do because you got less gear to haul around. There's less to do, less to go wrong.
And if we had normally, we would drive to an event like that, and if we had driven, we would have been in a different position, but we physically couldn't drive because it's a good 2 days for us to get to LA.
Yep.
And then we would have arrived home yesterday.
Yeah.
Which would have impacted this week. So I'm sorry. We pushed it when we could. I hope you enjoy it. If you want to support the channel, please do. You can do so by heading to patreon.com/Transport Evolved. We would really appreciate you all helping from as little as $1 a month. It would make a really big difference to us. I know YouTube has been absolutely tanking our YouTube ad revenue. I actually had to have a tough conversation with my partner at the weekend about that, because the ad revenue from YouTube has basically really, it's no longer something we can rely on. It used to help the channel kind of tick along, but now it's not. The ad revenue from YouTube basically occasionally covers fun stuff like new hard drives that we need to buy. We've got a huge number of hard drives to buy, and new camera equipment and new computer equipment. That's basically it. So there we go. Thanks to everybody for watching. Do go and make sure that you check out the video if you haven't already. Don't blame Volkswagen. Don't blame us. We did the best we could. Everybody else had slightly different experiences. And yes, some of the larger channels got more time than us, and we're not going to complain because they're awesome too. But you know us. We focus on getting it right rather than being first. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep evolving.